one side boycotting and the other side doing the opposite. Tesla is a brand whose main consumer demographic was always the coastal liberal elites, now turned off by it, and replacing those customers with gas-guzzling, climate change-denying, coal-rolling conservatives was never something that was going to happen on a meaningful scale. So, on Tuesday of this week, Tesla released their latest quarterly earnings report. And can you guess how Q1 might have gone for Elon's little car company?
I could have saved the board a lot of time by putting up a PowerPoint that just said, bullying works. It works! We were flicking off the trucks. I was doing a menacing point to regular cars and bullying Elon Musk. And guess what? Not only did Tesla suffer arguably one of the worst profit drops in its history, it also means that Musk is starting to look like he might be backing away from his political ambitions as well. But we'll get to it. Now, if you guessed that Tesla was doing very badly, congrats. You understand basic cause and effect. Here's USA Today. Tesla CEO Elon Musk said he would soon be spending less time with the Trump administration after first quarter earnings fell short of expectations. Net income for the quarter was down 71%. After a decline in vehicle deliveries as Tesla battled growing competition from foreign brands, shifting trade policies, and growing backlash to the brand after Musk aligned himself with the Trump administration. There are some challenges, and I expect that this year there will probably be some unexpected bumps this year, Musk said in an earnings call April 22nd. But I remain extremely optimistic about the future of the company.
Unexpected bumps. He's taking unexpected bumps like 7 to 10 times a day.
Yeah, line those ketamine bumps up. Also, yeah, of course you're extremely optimistic about the future of the company. Your entire life depends on it. And you've seen how quickly that can be taken away from you.
It's where all your money is.
Yeah, here's some more details about this from CNBC. Tesla reported a miss on the top and bottom lines in its first quarter earnings report on Tuesday as automotive revenue plunged 20% from a year earlier. Here are the key numbers compared with LSEG expectations. Earnings per share, 27 cents adjusted versus 39 cents estimated. Revenue, $19.34 billion versus $21.11 billion estimated. Total revenue slid 9% from $21.3 billion a year earlier. Automotive revenue dropped 20% to $14 billion from $17.4 billion in the same period last year. Net income plummeted 71% to $409 million or 12 cents a share from $1.39 billion or 41 cents a year ago. Goddamn. Goddamn. A company that in any other rational market would be on life support. Yet somehow the stock went up the day that this was released.
People want to believe in something, anything.
It's just very telling that the Tesla stock is so expensive when literally every other brand that's been around for just decades.
Stonks stopped being real the second we started calling them stonks.
That's right. We cursed it.
Now, to be clear, this is definitely part of a larger trend that we will be seeing in quarterly reports from companies across every industry, not just the auto business, thanks in large part to the economic uncertainty of the Trump administration. Ooh. And the full effect of Trump's tariffs will be a lot clearer in the second quarter. My guess, still bad, worse. But unlike every other company that's facing a downturn, Tesla's CEO is literally hanging out at the White House, helping Trump ruin the economy and everything else. He might say that he's against the tariffs, but that kind of rings hollow when Trump campaigned on huge tariff hikes, and you endorsed him and gave him hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So buying a Tesla isn't just a political endorsement, it's also you're giving money to the guy responsible for making everything more expensive, which is something a lot of consumers are probably going to avoid just on principle.
I'd say so.
And again, the people that actually like what Elon is doing politically are not interested in buying his cars. New polling released this week by CNBC shows just how bad things are in terms of public sentiment.
The broad public and investors have something in common these days. They don't have a lot of love for either Tesla or CEO Elon Musk. Tesla's stock has undergone a withering sell-off, and the CNBC All-America Economic Survey finds more than 47% of the public have a negative view of the company. Another 27% are positive on the electric vehicle maker, while 24% are neutral. That compares with a third of the public who have a positive view of General Motors, with 51% neutral and 10% negative. Tesla has been under pressure with concern that its founders' controversial political activities in cutting government employment and backing President Donald Trump and Republicans could be alienating prospective buyers. Protests have sprung up across the nation at Tesla offices.
The survey found Musk to be a highly polarizing figure. Half of the public has a negative view of Musk, compared with 36% who see him positively and 16% who are neutral. Among Democrats, Musk's net approval, positive minus negative, is minus 82 and minus 49 for independents. GOP respondents are plus 56. The biggest problem for Tesla may be that many groups who are potential customers are far more positive about electric vehicles than they are about the company. Where Tesla is strongest is among the people least likely to buy an EV, said Micah Roberts, partner at Public Opinion Strategies, the Republican pollster for the survey. Overall, 35% of Americans are negative on EVs and 33% are positive. Men, however, are plus 11 in net approval of EVs, but evenly divided on Tesla. Young people aged 18 to 34 are plus 19 on EVs, but minus 23 on Tesla. The gap is most stark among Democrats, who are plus 20 on EVs, but negative 74 on Tesla. Further complicating the issue, Republicans are strongly positive on Tesla, but net negative on EVs.
Yeah, I like all the damage he's causing to the government and how much it's pissing off all the libs, but no, I would never
purchase one of his gay little cars.
That's something I cannot bring myself to do.
No.
It is very telling.
I hope someone else does, but not me.
It is very telling that, like, even among the GOP, the approval rating is worse than Trump's. So, like, members of the GOP are like, okay, even though they're directly aligned with each other, I kind of still fucking hate this guy just on principle. He's just a weird guy. And that might have an effect on at least some Republicans.
He's triggering the libs, and that's the best thing I can say about him.
But there is always that thing with Republicans of, like, can they have a beer with this person? And with Elon Musk, that just doesn't seem to be, he just doesn't seem like a person.
You can have a bump with this person. A lot of unexpected bumps.
Yeah, a lot of bumps in the road.
Yeah.
Now, anyways, if you look at Tesla's stock, it seems like everything's going great. With a 10% jump in the share price since Monday, but yeah, as we always say, zoom out a little bit, and that graph, it's not going well. So it's still down nearly 50% since its peak back in December. And the reasoning behind the latest optimism following Q1 earnings is the same as it ever was. Elon vaguely promised that a bunch of shit like robo-taxis and entry-level affordable Tesla and robot butlers are going to be here any day now. And investors just kind of plugged their ears and said, la 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 la, when he preemptively made excuses for why that won't happen by acknowledging that tariffs are a big roadblock. Oh, geez. So a lot of investors also reacted positively to Elon saying his time with Doge is coming to an end, which is kind of weird because that's not actually what he said. He said that starting next month, he'll probably continue to spend a day or two per week on government matters for as long as the president would like me to do so, and for as long as it is useful. Okay. Well, great.
I mean, I like that he's saying that when, like, not that it fucking matters anymore, but, like, there are laws in place for special government appointees. They have, like, 130 days or something like that, and he's just like, oh, maybe I just keep doing it. Laws aren't real.
Yeah, it's, what a strange guy. But yes, the poll numbers are coming out like the first 100 days thing, and it is very noticeable. Whatever you want to say about who's the president, going back to the George W. Bush administration, Trump, both administrations, the first Trump administration and this one, are the lowest approval ratings in the first 100 days.
Yeah, out of people just voted on vibes both times.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to do that twice. Like, you voted on vibes in 2016, were immediately disappointed by the reality of what you voted for, and then 8 years later, you just have complete fucking amnesia, and you do it again, and then are again immediately disappointed.
I am slightly partial to the idea that, yes, because there was a gap presidency there, you have an entire generation of people who did not live with the effects of the first Trump administration.
I mean, that's certainly a factor.
But not enough to get that many votes. It's kind of crazy.
It's more just a lot of people got COVID and it literally damaged their brains.
And a big part of it, as someone who has a lot of conservative family, a big part of it is retribution for Joe Biden. It's the same way Trump was retribution.
What did Joe Biden even do to you? Like,
they don't know. They don't know.
Expand upon that.
Everything that's happened, inflation and all that. But then, and the first Trump administration was seen by many to be a reaction to Barack Obama. So it keeps being the anger vote, and he is the one guy who's like, yes, I will be nasty to whoever you want me to.
It's like an entire population of people with oppositional defiant disorder.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. They just want everyone is upset with their own lives, and they want other people to suffer more than they are. Someone has to be worse off.
fucking over for this country.
Yeah.
But speaking of tariffs, it is easy to forget that, like so many other things Trump has done since returning to the White House, the president isn't actually allowed to just unilaterally impose tariffs, except in very specific circumstances. Otherwise, that's supposed to be Congress's job. One of their most important jobs.
Yeah.
The Republican-controlled Congress has been happy to voluntarily hand over their constitutionally mandated economic authorities to the president, but several states this week teamed up to sue the Trump administration for what they argue, pretty convincingly, is illegal and unconstitutional tariffs. Here's CNBC. A dozen states sued President Donald Trump and his administration Wednesday, seeking a court order declaring that his new tariffs on foreign imports are illegal. The president does not have the power to raise taxes on a whim, but that's exactly what President Trump has been doing with these tariffs. New York Attorney General Letitia James said in a statement on the lawsuit. The suit was filed in the U.S. Court of International Trade. It argues that a president has no authority to arbitrarily impose tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the U.S. law that Trump has cited in executing his tariff policy.
Yeah, and this is how he's gone above any kind of, so far, regulatory thing. It's the same thing with the mass deportations. He's claiming that under some law...
You're saying that we're at war.
Yeah, he's doing wartime laws.
Yeah.
Anyways, it continues. In addition to New York, the plaintiffs in the new lawsuit filed Wednesday include Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, Maine, Minnesota, New Mexico, Oregon, and Vermont. Quote, not once has any other president used IEEPA to impose tariffs. In the nearly 5 decades since IEEPA was enacted, no other president has imposed tariffs based on the existence of any national emergency, despite global anti-narcotics campaigns spearheaded by the United States and long-standing trade deficit, the state's suit says. Because these tariffs are unlawful, this court should declare that they are not in force, enjoin the defendant agencies and officers from enforcing them, and vacate the agency actions implementing them. The Constitution assigns to Congress, not the president, the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, the suit says. By claiming the authority to impose immense and ever-changing tariffs on whatever goods entering the United States he chooses, for whatever reason he finds convenient to declare an emergency, the president has upended the constitutional order and brought chaos to the American economy, the suit says. Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays said, President Trump's insane tariff scheme is not only economically reckless, it is illegal. Arizona cannot afford President Trump's massive tax increase, Mays said. No matter what the White House claims, tariffs are a tax that will be passed on to Arizona consumers. It's good that, 6 months or so, just under 6 months after the election, everyone's talking about how this is actually just a tax on the American people finally, and not just the liberal news outlets.
It literally is.
I know, but it is crazy to see everyone, at least, especially the representatives, be silent on it, and then people and I know Rand Paul because he's libertarian, but finally say something only after it's enacted.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not even just libertarian. All these Republicans, the
business executives are...
Yes, they all went to school. They all studied econ in college. They all know that tariffs are taxes.
Yeah.
And they were taught up until very recently that as a conservative, you should be against them. And they've just spun themselves into a bowl of spaghetti, and now they love them.
When you refuse the vaccine and you get COVID 10 times and it cooks your brain 10 times, this might be how you act.
Yeah, that is the real lasting impact of COVID.
Yeah.
No one's brains works.
You got your brain boiled.
Anyway, it sounds like a pretty rock-solid case, but then again, who the hell knows with the current Supreme Court, who will most likely end up getting final say over it. They say the president has absolute immunity for official acts, but it's unclear how they square that with the Constitution, which they say they love oh so much. And the Constitution is pretty clear about the separation of powers, so guess we'll see. But moving on now to the member of the Trump administration who's Elon's biggest competition when it comes to fucking everything up. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. RFK Jr.'s motto of Make America healthy again seems increasingly at odds with basically everything he's actually been doing as secretary. And one of the latest examples of this is his apparent stance that actually the U.S.'s milk is too healthy. We need to rewind things a little bit back to when drinking milk was more of a gamble, like it was in the olden days.
Yeah, people don't have enough risk anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's Reuters.
The Food and Drug Administration is suspending a quality control program for testing of fluid milk and other dairy products due to reduced capacity in its Food Safety and Nutrition Division, according to an internal email seen by Reuters. The suspension is another disruption to the nation's food safety programs after the termination and departure of 20,000 employees of the Department of Health and Human Services, which includes the FDA, as part of President Donald Trump's effort to shrink the federal workforce. The FDA this month also suspended existing and developing programs that ensured accurate testing for bird flu in milk and cheese and pathogens like the parasite Cyclospora in other food products. Effective Monday, the agency suspended its proficiency testing program for Grade A raw milk and finished products, according to the email sent in the morning from the FDA's Division of Dairy Safety and addressed to network laboratories. Grade A milk, or fluid milk, meets the highest sanitary standards. The testing program was suspended because FDA's Moffitt Center Proficiency Testing Laboratory, part of its division overseeing food safety, quote, is no longer able to provide laboratory support for proficiency testing and data analysis, the email said.
Now it's going to be Grade A with 2 quotation marks around it.
Ow, my bones!
Oh, little winky emoji next to it.
Why are my bones hurt? I'm drinking plenty of milk.
That's just the Cyclospora.
Yeah.
And once it runs its course, you'll be even stronger.
And by the way, we put the midichlorians back in the milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's gonna have superpowers now. The libs didn't want you to have superpowers.
Yeah.
But RFK does.
They boiled those midichlorians away.
The unintentional, I guess, side effect of this is that the vegans will inherit the earth. Between the egg shortage and the poisoned milk, they got a lot going for them.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, a lot of vegan food is also processed and but vegans aren't cooking all their own meals and growing all their.
I know. I'm just saying, drinking poisoned milk will certainly harm people who drink milk all the time.
We're just gonna have to all get like flash pasteurizers for our kitchens. So any questionable liquids that come in, you just put it in there and it zaps them, and hey,
no, I mean
pathogens owned.
We really are solving things in the old way, because Elliot, he's been circling the farm trying to buy some goats. They mow your lawn, they provide milk.
Yeah. And their shit is great mulch.
Yes, they are. And guess what? If someone tosses a tin can over your fence,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
See you later.
And listen, okay, sure, on its face, it kind of seems like they just want more Americans to die from entirely preventable causes.
Yeah.
But hold on, you got to remember that RFK Jr. he's a true blue raw milker who thinks genuinely that pasteurization is robbing us all of milk's true potential. So he's actually, the result is going to be people getting sick and dying, but he does not believe that he's killing people.
It's got the good chemicals in it. It's got the good bacteria. Making everyone sick, not having the bacteria, because you got to learn from it. That's him.
They do, however, definitely want more Americans to die, just specific groups of Americans. And one way they're trying to do that is by getting more LGBTQ youth to unalive themselves, as the Zoomers might say.
No.
Here's Mother Jones. The federal government plans to eliminate services for LGBTQ youth who call 988, the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline, according to a Health and Human Services budget draft leaked last week. The budget, first reported by the Washington Post, would go into effect in October if approved by Congress. Since the hotline's launch in 2022, callers have been able to speak with counselors trained to work with specific at-risk populations, including LGBTQ youth, who are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their peers. The service for LGBTQ youth has received 1.3 million calls, texts, or chats since 2022. In February, the program received an average of 2,100 contacts per day.
Here we are cutting off the nation's lifeline to those in crisis, says Paolo De Vecchio, former director of the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration's Office of Recovery. Due to the discriminatory practices of the Trump administration, they're pulling that life preserver away from thousands and thousands of people. Mental health experts say that trained counselors provide key cultural competency to LGBTQ youth, understanding the stress caused by recent political attacks, the importance of using appropriate pronouns, and the ways in which the youth often face lack of family support and harassment. I worry deeply that we will see more LGBTQ young people reach a crisis state and not have anyone there to help them through that, says Jansen Wu, Director of Advocacy and Government Affairs at the Trevor Project, an LGBTQ suicide prevention organization. I worry that LGBTQ young people will reach out to 988 and not receive a compassionate and welcoming voice on the other end, and that will only deepen their crisis.
Yeah, it's going to be like in all those states where abortion's like heavily restricted, they have all those like fake abortion clinics
That convince you to have the child?
Yeah, they basically like trap you and try to basically make you have the kid. They're going to do that with the suicide hotline where the kid's like, everyone's bullying me. I feel so alone. They're like, well, have you tried not being gay?
Yeah. It's going to
Have
be...
you thought of that?
There's going to be... I mean, the dystopian way to look at it is that it'll just be AI chatbots that you're talking to. So...
I mean, honestly, I'd trust an AI chatbot more than I would trust a just bigot on the other end.
Yeah.
Depending on how it's programmed.
Sure. But hearing that, depressing and violent talk all day, you would think learn from it or something. I don't know. I don't like where we're at as a country, so...
Not good.
No.
Again, it's like one of these, it's one of many things that you look at how much it costs, and it's like, I feel like we're getting a lot more out of this than what we're spending.
Yeah.
It's actually bad when people take their own lives.
Yeah, not to bring LA local news into it again, but Mayor Bass's budget this week with the pie chart is just... Well, someone help me, please feed my family. I have half $500 million in fines to pay for because...
Specifically for like police.
For the police. And then the other half of the budget goes back to the police. So there you go.
Yeah.
Anyways, meanwhile, RFK Jr. continues to say dumb, ignorant shit about people with autism, clearly having learned nothing from the blowback to him saying autistic people will never hold a job, pay taxes, play baseball, or go on a date, despite plenty of autistic people doing all of those things. Because just days later, he revisited the topic and stuck his foot firmly in his disgusting mouth once again. Here's people. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary, is claiming that the impact of autism exceeds the impact of COVID-19 on American lives during a new interview. Speaking about autism on the Cats Roundtable radio show on WABC 770 AM on Sunday, April 20th, Kennedy said, "It dwarfs the COVID epidemic and the impacts on our country because COVID killed old people. Autism affects children and affects them at the beginning of their lives, the beginning of their productivity. And it's absolutely debilitating for them, their families, their communities, and for our country. Just the pure economic cost of autism," he said. He also claimed that autism will eventually cost the economy $1 trillion a year by 2035, though he did not cite where he got that figure.
Out of his ass.
Yeah, completely made up. It's a fabrication.
So this is, as many have pointed out, not just yet another insult to people with autism, but also a huge insult to anyone who lost loved ones during COVID.
Or is currently suffering from long COVID.
Yeah, COVID definitely isn't over, by the way, but yeah, during its peak in the first couple of years, COVID killed more than 1 million people in the U.S.
In this country.
And they definitely weren't all elderly people. For a while, it was the top 5 leading cause of death for people between their 30s and 50s, and it still to this day ranks pretty high across all age groups. So it's kind of bonkers to claim that autism is somehow worse, especially when you're totally ignoring the millions of Americans with level 1 autism spectrum disorder who manage to live happy, independent, fulfilling lives, tax-paying, baseball playing, partner dating,
excelling in their
wiping
field,
their ass, all the things you said they can't do.
making money for their company, having all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, like it's so fucking dumb. Again, he's like, why do the numbers keep going up? It's because a lot of other people that previously we thought were just a little eccentric, we now can, categorize them as being on the autism spectrum and provide them, ways to live better like that. And he's like, the number of just pure fucking vegetables who can't take care of themselves at all has gone up. And it's like, no, the statistics say the opposite, actually.
Well, good news, Elliot, because RFK is starting to list, and he's going to check it twice.
Yeah.
And it's the all-naughty list.
So it's also pretty goddamn unsettling in the context of a fascist government to be talking about the economic burden of people with certain medical conditions. We've been here before. Well, not us, but Germany.
Yeah.
And I mean, people do forget. Before there was a Holocaust, they started with people in medical facilities.
That's the so much of the problem with just American exceptionalism and everything is that the absolute refusal to look at Nazi Germany anytime before D-Day is just a huge gap of knowledge that people are willfully ignoring. It's actually kind of scary.
Yeah, the American context of just that entire period of history starts in like 1943.
Yeah, it's
skips over like
misses all of the important context of how it came to be.
A couple decades
there's
there.
a decade plus of very important context leading up to
2
that.
decades.
Meanwhile, RFK Jr. is just going to be going around to various homes and wheeling people out of their top story windows in their wheelchairs.
He's just going to be giving them ice pick lobotomies.
Yeah.
Just like Aunt Rosemary.
Yeah, he has personal family experience with that.
Yeah.
But speaking of our fascist government being fascist, it's time now to move on to some stories about immigration, or rather deportation, or if that's even the legal term, because they're
Disappearing.
certainly, not doing the legal process.
They're making him disappear.
But we're going to start with an update on Kilmar Obrigo Garcia, whose wife, back in the U.S., now has even more shit to deal with on top of her husband being in a concentration camp thousands of miles away. Here's the New Republic. The wife of Kilmar Obrigo Garcia, who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador by the Trump administration, was forced to move to a safe house with her children after the government posted their home address to social media. White House officials have spent weeks trying to justify their deportation of Obrigo Garcia, even after admitting in court that sending him to El Salvador was an administrative error, claiming with no evidence that he is a violent criminal and gang member. At one point, the Department of Homeland Security posted online an order of protection that Jennifer Vasquez Sura had sought, but later abandoned, against her husband. That order contained Vasquez Sura's home address, unredacted. I don't feel safe when the government posts my address, the house where my family lives, for everyone to see, especially when this case has gone viral and people have all sorts of opinions, Vasquez Sura told the Washington Post. So this is definitely a bit terrifying. I'm scared for my kids.
Yeah, rightfully, I'd say. I mean, the government's been pulling out all the stops, trying to baselessly paint this dude as a high-ranking MS-13 member and also terrorist based on nothing. So the idea of some nut job or multiple nut jobs going after his family isn't hard to imagine.
I've got just the most depressing firsthand experience with how this is being portrayed online, because my dad just watches Facebook all day. And countless times this week, I've heard videos go by where it's an AI voice, either male or female, and the first thing out of the AI voice's mouth is known and verified MS-13 gang member Kilmar Obrigo Garcia. That is how every single one starts. So that is the first.
Known and verified. Well, show us the proof.
It doesn't matter, because that is hitting the first part of every video. And even if you skip the video, that's what you hear over and over again. That is what's happening on Boomer Facebook. It really is. Meanwhile, though, due to the unlawful nature of these deportations and the complete lack of due process, another horrifying experience for family members of people who have been deported is that people just simply disappear. And finding out any information about what happened or where they are can seem impossible. And sometimes it is. Here's NBC News with one such story. It was March 13th when netizen Alejandro Leon Rangel called his brother Nairver Adrian Leon Rangel to wish him a happy birthday. Alejandro never heard back from him. Federal agents detained Adrian on his way to his job at a Dallas barbershop. For the next 5 weeks, Alejandro has searched for Adrian, trying to learn where he was. Deported to another country? Held in an immigration facility in the United States? He and Adrian's live-in girlfriend called Immigration and Customs Enforcement in Texas, getting shifted from office to office with different responses.
Sometimes they were told that Adrian was still in detention. Another time they were told that he had been deported back to his country of origin, El Salvador, even though Adrian is Venezuelan. Alejandro provided NBC News with audio recordings of the calls. Their mother went to a detention center in Caracas, Venezuela, where deportees are held when they arrive from the United States, Alejandro said, but she was told no one by her son's name was there. They enlisted the help of advocacy groups. Cristosal, a nonprofit organization in El Salvador working with families of presumed deportees to get answers from the U.S. and Salvadoran governments, had no answer. Same with League of United Latin American Citizens, known as LULAC. Alejandro's 6-year-old niece asked him almost every day, when will her dad call her? For 40 days, his family has been waiting to hear his fate, LULAC CEO Juan Proaño said. Finally, on Tuesday, an answer. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed to NBC News that Adrian had, in fact, been deported to El Salvador. Oops. So literally, like, a major national news agency had to, start pestering them to get any answers. Otherwise, these people would have never found out what happened to their family member, even what country.
The only reason that we're hearing about the select few that we're hearing about is because they have immigration lawyers and public anger and motivation behind it. There's a lot that is not being reported at all. I mean, just in the past 2 weeks, someone like showed up for a nationalization test where they were literally doing everything, right?
Yeah, the guy from Colombia.
And they picked him up. Another guy took a wrong turn near the Detroit immigration bridge. Yeah, it's crazy. And the government claims that the previous guy is Tren de Aragua. He's a member of Tren de Aragua, seemingly solely based on some unrelated tattoos. And when asked for any evidence to back this up, they told NBC News, "We aren't going to share intelligence reports and undermine national security every time a gang member denies he is one. That would be insane." I don't know.
Seems like a pretty easy fucking thing to prove.
Yeah, also it seems like it would line up pretty easily with what is supposed to happen with the legal system.
Yeah, it's called due process.
But as bad
kind of a bedrock of this whole country's democracy.
Oh, the argument with that I've seen is also bonkers because anytime they talk about that, they preface it or end it with, well, what about this guy who killed someone? It's like, okay, you're talking about someone completely different and a completely different case and someone who did have due process.
Yeah.
And you're using that as justification to disappear people. Completely irrelevant people to whatever you're mentioning.
This might seem controversial, but I think also in cases of murder, there should also be due process.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyways, as bad as that situation is, at least the family has some vague idea of where he is. In some cases, people are simply disappearing altogether, or more accurately, they're being disappeared. Here's the New York Times. In late January, Ricardo Prada Vasquez, a Venezuelan immigrant working in a delivery job in Detroit, picked up an order at a McDonald's. He was heading to the address when he erroneously turned onto the Ambassador Bridge, which leads to Canada. It is a common mistake even for those who live in the Michigan border city. But for Mr. Prada, 32, it proved fateful. The U.S. authorities took Mr. Prada into custody when he attempted to re-enter the country. He was put in detention and ordered deported. On March 15th, he told a friend in Chicago that he was among a number of detainees housed in Texas who expected to be repatriated to Venezuela.
That evening, the Trump administration flew 3 planes carrying Venezuelan migrants from the Texas facility to El Salvador, where they have been ever since, locked up in a maximum security prison and denied contact with the outside world. But Mr. Prada has not been heard from or seen. He is not on a list of 238 people who were deported to El Salvador that day. He does not appear in the photos and videos released by the authorities of shackled men with shaved heads. He has simply disappeared, said Javier, a friend in Chicago, the last person with whom Mr. Prada had contact. The friend spoke about Mr. Prada on condition that he be identified only by his middle name out of fear that he too could be targeted by the immigration authorities. Mr. Prada's brother, Hugo Prada, who is living in Venezuela, has also been trying to learn what happened. "We know nothing," he said. Mr. Prada's disappearance has created concerns that more immigrants have been deported to El Salvador than previously known. It also raises the question of whether some deportees may have been sent to other countries with no record of it. U.S. authorities confirmed that he was removed from the United States, but to where?
And it's horrifying. And like, I mean, we're honestly not scratching the surface of what's going on. It's
like, we don't know if these people are alive.
That's
the scary thing.
Yes, it is going to be. We are living in it, and it is going to be years from now that there's going to be full investigations into this, and we're going to find. I would bet money that we're going to find some fucking horrific shit. There's been so many more stories lately about the immigration situation that it would be an entire channel dedicated. Young children being forced to go through immigration court proceedings without attorneys. More and more student visa holders being snatched up for being even slightly critical of Israel. Scientists working on groundbreaking research being deported. Tourists being detained and deported for seemingly no valid reason. And U.S.-born citizens receiving emails from DHS telling them to leave the country within a week. It's cruel. It's a clusterfuck. And while it might be successful at making migrants think twice about coming to the U.S., it's also definitely going to have the side effect of making just about every damn person on Earth think twice before coming to the U.S. for any reason. They were like the German tourists in Hawaii who got detained.
That's like just one of the latest examples. It was like something, just a slight, like, even the official version of the story, I'm like, this seems like this could have been resolved without, like, throwing these people in a fucking jail cell for 48 hours. And there's been like, since Trump took over, like, there's been so many people trying to like enter the country with, the big one seems to be backpackers, because like they don't have like they have a date they're showing up and a date they're leaving. And they have like the visa for it, but they show up and the immigration and customs are like, tell us exactly where you're going to be on every single day. And they're like, I don't know. Like, I want to see the Grand Canyon. I want to see the Redwoods. And they're like, where are you staying? Like, I don't know. I was going to figure that out.
Maybe I'll camp. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, bye-bye. Sounds like you're lying and sounds like you're trying to sneak into the U.S.
No, you're going to see, I mean, the data will come out. You got to look at like Disney World and some other stuff like that. Especially the real tail of the tape is going to be this coming fall and winter, when the Canadians come back down to places like Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and take up residence for 6 months or so.
Yeah.
That is going to destroy local economies if they do not show up, which seemingly, aside from just being scared of something happening or you being mistakenly sent back, also a pretty hostile place to come to in general, even if you didn't make it in.
The vibes are...
We got fucked vibes,
Fucked vibes here. It's a big win for Euro Disney, the ugly stepchild of the Disney Parks franchise.
They should change the name back to Euro Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, this is not...
We have nothing to do with America.
They got their thing over there. It's
Yeah.
not the happiest place on earth. You might get deported, might get sent to a camp. Over here at Euro Disney,
Yeah.
you can
Whatever.
roam freely without fear of
Maybe it is
disappeared.
Maybe it is good that when Disney was forced to do all these deals with these countries that were very, like, they had a lot of animosity about Disney coming there, except for like Japan.
So
But
it's all like partly locally.
yes, it's so
Controlled.
at any point in time they could be like, the whole American thing isn't really
Yeah.
working for us. So, anyways, we got plenty of castles over here in Europe. If we got to get rid of this, it's fine.
It is pretty funny to like go to Europe to go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
Like there's so much.
You know,
There's
you
so
can
much
take an
else to
hour
see.
flight to go see Neuschwanstein, the one that it's like based off of.
It's especially funny because like I've stayed in the town where Euro Disney is, and
Yeah.
it's basically Irvine in France.
Great.
Like it's an hour, like 45 minutes outside of Paris, and it's the most generic. You kind of feel like you're in America there.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of like they're building suburbs in some places in China that are mimicking Orange County.
That's so fucking funny.
Yeah. Anyways, if for some reason all of our immigration shit could even be repaired, maybe we just don't have tourism or anything for a while.
Yeah, even if nothing's gonna change for 3.5 years, but even if on day one, and this is still a big if, knowing the Democrats, even if they come in and they just reverse all of this, like it's gonna take a very long time to repair the vibes.
Yeah,
the fucked vibes. People from outside the United States are gonna be like, well, they say now you can travel there without risking going to fucking prison.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
There's a couple of
I don't
other effects
trust
too.
these
Like
Americans.
a lot of Americans are gonna choose to not go overseas either because coming back is going to be a hassle.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the big one is a lot of people who come here. This was the science capital of the world, and that is not the case because we became the science capital of the world by attracting talent from all over the world and funding it, and we're not doing either of those things. In fact, we're actively like deporting people who are themselves like personally working on groundbreaking shit.
And the unless we do have a major shift, which would be great, into younger and more left-leaning politicians getting elected, the Overton window of everything that the Republicans have done just in the first 100 days, that they're counting on Democrats only chipping back away a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Because then they still get everything they want and the groundwork for it. And it's the entire job of the next Democrat president is to just chip away at what's been done. So they can't move forward on their own stuff. But yeah, it would take a fucking real long time to do any of that. So hunker down, I guess.
Anyway, this is unfortunately our last video of the week because Ricky's going to be doing some traveling.
I'm going to the woods. Leave me alone.
With his dad.
Yeah.
Hanging out in the woods with dad.
With no cell service.
Just Rick and Rick out there in the woods.
No cell service.
No cell service.
Intentionally.
Just living in the moment.
Yes.
But just because there's no weekly weird news this week doesn't mean we're going to leave a bunch of perfectly good, fresh, weird news headlines just sitting on the table to rot. So we've got a much more lighthearted headlines half of the show coming up in a second that will hopefully offset some of the existential horrors of everything else we've covered today. But first, we got to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Shopify. When we started this show, it seemed like we had to figure out pretty much everything on our own, from scripts, setup, filming schedule, graphics, editing, the countless audio issues, and so on. It was super overwhelming, and every day seemed to introduce a new decision that needed an answer. When you're starting off with something new, it seems like your to-do list keeps growing every day with new tasks, and that list can easily begin to overrun your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. And for millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify.
Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into big money with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/newsday. Go to shopify.com/newsday. Shopify.com/newsday. All right, now, getting into the weirdest, wildest, craziest headlines from around the world this week. Starting with yet another update on a brand. And guys, you didn't...
Perhaps the final update.
You didn't need a telescope to see this one coming.
No.
All you needed to do was just be cognizant of the world or watch this show. Because, Elliot, tell the people what's going on with Fyre Festival.
Billy McFarland cancels Fyre Festival 2 and puts brand up for sale a week after postponement.
And I love the PR statement that came with this.
We did everything right, you know.
And it is time to pass the torch. Sir,
what torch?
That torch is not lit. That torch is just a stick that you found on the beach.
It's never been lit.
Yeah.
I love that he's like, it's such a valuable IP. And again, I say there is value in it, but not in festivals. There's value in it in like creating like a video game, a Dead Island DLC, Dead Island official Fyre Fest DLC.
Making an actual fully dramatized version, movie version. There's something there. It's not what he thinks.
We've got enough festivals, and this one never even happened, so I don't think that's... But it is really funny that like less than a week, like last week we covered it, and it's just like, it's just postponed. We're just looking for a new location. It's like, that's
literally
just no fucking way.
Completely collapsed under the slight weight of just a cursory investigation by the local government. Very... I mean, who could have seen this coming? The torch is not a torch. It's a stick with a white flag on it.
Mm-hmm.
Billy McFarland is going to be on to some other scam next, and people are going to fall for it, and that's their own damn fault.
Yeah, all the Zoomers who are pissed they didn't get scammed by Billy, they're going to have to wait for the next one.
Yeah. Well, maybe he'll get a job in the Trump administration, and Ja Rule can be his economic advisor.
Trump was, during the campaign, working with Billy McFarland, because like Billy McFarland was acting like a liaison to get like rappers to show up at like Trump events and endorse him. I don't think anything came out of that.
Trump's like, and you won't pay him, right? You're good at ripping people off.
It sounds like that might have been another Billy scam, because like, other than Ja Rule, who I assume he is not on good terms with anymore, like, how do we know that Billy McFarland is close with any rappers, or is that just something he said?
No, he probably was like, Trump, I made a credit card that people really wanted, and you're doing your immigration card. We can work together.
I do love the theory that he legitimately thought he was talking with government officials from Mexico, but it was actually just scammers pretending to be the Mexican government officials and taking his money.
Yeah.
And being like, all right, we're good to go. And then he calls the actual government and they're like, what are you talking about?
I don't even know if he got that far.
No.
It's
giving him too much credit.
All right, next headline. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's bag, including $3,000 in cash, is stolen from D.C. restaurant.
Oh, just going out to dinner at Burger Palace or whatever, and
just get a little bit of walking around money.
Just a couple thousand in cash, 3,000. Like, that's a very suspicious amount of money to have in your purse, and then just leave your purse on the ground in a crowded restaurant. I don't know. Assuming this was a legitimate theft and not some weird insurance scam, it's got to be crazy for whoever stole it to be like, oh fuck. First of all, I was expecting maybe a couple 20s, $3,000 in here, and what is this? A badge for the White House? And who the fuck is Kristi Noem? Should I know that name? Oh god. Oh no.
Why does this urn say gravel pit on it?
But she's just like, yeah, no, it's totally normal. Like, we had a lot of family in town, and like we wanted to go out to dinner and like buy Easter gifts, whatever the fuck that is. So I needed $3,000 in cash. I needed a stack of bills.
Look,
maybe she's one of those people. Maybe she's just one of those people that hates using credit cards and likes the feeling of having cash. I get it.
well, yeah, it also does give the chip on the shoulder too, because everything is card now. So,
Yeah.
oh, you don't take cash? Well,
Everything is computer.
yeah, everything is computer. That's right, Mr. President.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this only happens at this point like once a year or so. But when I find myself in a situation where I actually have to use an ATM, like they don't take cards, I withdraw so much money just to have like hundreds of dollars. Just so,
And never do it again?
And then, yeah, for the next like couple weeks, all of my spending will be with cash. And I'm like, oh, that's a throwback. This feels good.
Elliot, yeah, you're going to lose your purse one day, and then everyone's going to be making fun of you online.
I know.
That's right. Your Ridge wallet's going to end up on a cabinet somewhere, and someone's going to snatch it.
Yeah, maybe. But, you know, that's the cost of doing business.
Christy Gnome's Ridge wallet is that big. It's just a stack. They were heading out to Jumbos afterwards.
Yeah, very suspicious. But
Something else is also suspicious.
yeah. JD Vance brings misfortune. Terror attack in India, latest calamity to befall Vance's cursed world tour. Tragic events seem to be following Vance. And yeah, I mean, when he killed the Pope, like that was a little lighthearted because like the Pope was on death's door already.
Yeah.
He just needed the JD Vance kiss of death.
Yeah.
This one's more serious because it's like an actual like serious terror attack.
Yeah, no, it's awful.
But it's right after he met with Narendra Modi. So he's 2 for 2 on this trip for
Catastrophic,
bad shit
world-changing
happening.
events.
Yeah, they should send him to Russia. Have him go meet up with Putin. Because Vlad, you gotta stop.
Very nasty.
Vladimir, stop.
It is. There's a lot going. I hope the momentum continues against the Trump administration, because the past 2 weeks, much like, and I know it didn't obviously work out, but the vibe shift that we felt last summer, it's similar just because of Trump is becoming increasingly frustrated. The courts are not going his way despite his very strong efforts. And we'll wait to see how that actually affects things.
Yeah.
But like Target, their foot traffic is just dropped massively. Tesla down. It just seems like they're starting to get a taste of like what happens when literally, if you even want to say half the country is so angrily opposed to everything you're doing, it's not going to work. There are rules in place and people can vote with their wallets.
Yeah.
Hopefully that continues. Anyways, moving on. 84-year-old man falls from cross during crucifixion reenactment in Weston.
Buddy, you're too old to be doing this.
Well, you know,
Your Stations of the Cross days are behind you.
yeah. Also,
That's a
like,
young man's job. Jesus was 33 when
That's
he was
right.
up there. You are more than double that. You should get down from that cross. Well, he did get down, just not the right way.
did the whole cross fall over with him on it?
I don't know. They didn't say, but shouldn't have been up there in the first place.
No, it's dangerous. You don't. I would,
Crucifixion's a young man's game.
84, even a ladder. Get away.
You know, he wouldn't have fallen off if they did this legit.
You nail him first.
Yeah, if he was actually nailed up there, you can't fall off. It's physically impossible.
That's right.
That's how they do it in the Philippines that way. And no one's ever fallen off one of those crosses.
I bet if you want to follow it, I've been sending Elliot and some other friends. My favorite account that I've followed in the past couple weeks is Preachers with Props.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That guy that made a roller coaster out of the entire stage. I mean,
that went on for way too long.
it is. Not only is it funny because it's so ridiculous, but it's such a blatant example of just the abuse of their tax-free.
The megachurch pastors all have way too much money. Like, if I was one of their parishioners, I'd be like, hey, when I put that money in the collection basket, I thought you were going to, like, use it for, I don't know,
Feeding
literally anything else.
Not
except
building a roller coaster.
building
on
a
stage.
functional roller coaster on stage so you could come out and be like, so life is a roller coaster sometimes.
Yeah.
You know who else said that? A guy named Jesus. Like, the shit's not even like relevant. They have too much money. It's like when you work at a company in like circa 2013, 0% interest rates, and they're just blowing money on like parties all the time.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Seems like you could be spending this on literally anything else.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Preachers with Props. It's a great account.
It is, and just a great example of them having way too much money. But let's move on.
Man sinks in quicksand and emerges with a girlfriend.
The loneliness,
Send me down into the quicksand.
the loneliness epidemic, it can be solved with this one trick. Archaeologists hate it.
Yeah, this guy was at the beach in like on Lake Michigan and was walking in like
The beach.
I mean,
Yeah, I know.
He walked in below surf and just like sank down to his waist, and he's like, ah, fuck. And he was with a female friend, and they were trying to get him out, and then finally they're just like, I don't know what to do, let's call 911. And then while he was on the phone, he was like panicking, and he just like impulsively referred to her as his girlfriend. And she's just like, oh, I didn't know you felt that way. And he's
Amazing.
like, and yeah, that's what brought them together. Yeah, he was in the hole, and that's when their feelings were revealed.
Yeah, she wanted to be like a rescue person.
He went in the hole, a single man. He came out the hole.
Yeah, and then he came in.
Someone's boyfriend.
That's right. Well, you know, we're bringing everything else from the 20th century back. Time to bring back quicksand accidents.
I mean, quicksand never left.
Yeah, but I think we were a little bit more cautious of it.
We were
of the
because
media.
we thought it would like suck you down. Like quicksand, you can't. It's so hard to die in quicksand because human beings are naturally pretty buoyant.
Mm-hmm. You got to work to get really stuck.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why it's when you start struggling, it gets worse.
Yeah, I mean, you can get stuck, but also he's just like, yeah, it reached me out here, and he's like, oh, there's bedrock. It's not that far down either. I'm not sinking any further than this.
Yeah, well, California mayor says he wants to give homeless people all the fentanyl they want.
I don't think they want fentanyl, is the thing. I don't think anyone wants fentanyl.
I think they're addicted to it, and it's the only thing that makes their life worth living, I guess, because they're fully blown addicted or have incredible pain caused by other addictions. I don't know.
This is the mayor of Lancaster,
Yeah, of
out
course.
by Palmdale.
And his implication is that he wants everyone to die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's repeated this. This guy's also like, he's got other scandals going on. Apparently he's not very popular, so he's just lashing out, being like, fuck it. Yeah, I'll say it. I want all homeless people to die of fentanyl overdoses.
Yeah.
I want them to die.
It's pretty barbaric.
That's another thing that, like, everything's been so distracted with everything else. But, I mean, even before this administration, I mean, here in California, like, the last elections we had, like, people were getting pretty, like, genocidal sounding with how they talk about homeless people. And that hasn't gone away. It's just sort of flown under the radar of everything else. And, I don't know. I'm waiting for Trump's plan for homelessness, because
El Salvador.
yeah, like, I don't know. It's gonna be bad, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
California gubernatorial candidate threatens immigrants with deportation if they don't marry incels. This is another thing. Another thing about California politics that you need to understand if you don't live here is all of our elections. If you run as a Republican, no matter how weird you are or how little actual organic support you have, you will get media attention. And so, yeah, this is just some random fucking groiper running for California governor as a Republican. He's just like, yeah, like,
I'm a federally mandated girlfriend.
yeah, he's literally saying, we're going to kick out all the male migrants, and the females, if they're hot, they can stay if they marry a California incel.
Yeah, and as we saw with one of the recent deportations,
I'd rather get
all those
deported,
incels
thanks.
will treat their wives as if they're employees on H-1B visas.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll treat them awful because they have no other option. Just like it was like the guy whose wife got deported, and he's like, oh well,
I'll find
a real shame. It's disgusting. Sam Altman admits that saying please and thank you to ChatGPT is wasting millions of dollars in computing power.
This is really funny, but also apparently people have found that saying please and thank you gets like slightly better results.
Yeah, just like with humans, because they're learning off of humans.
I mean, I've found not with ChatGPT, but with Google search, which I think now at this point is powered somewhat. Well, the search, basic Google search isn't generative AI, but it's influenced by it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've found that typing my searches more angrily yields more accurate results. Like I was troubleshooting some random, like, very specific issue with, I think it was Ableton Live or Premiere,
Yeah.
some software that I've been trying to figure out for weeks, and I just like I
You
lost it,
fucker.
and I typed in just the most angry way possible, and the top result was exactly the very specific issue.
Because someone reached their limit just like you. And they're like, if someone doesn't fucking tell me right
damn.
now.
Yeah, it worked.
I have had 0 issues with the paid search engine, Kagi. It works great. The only thing it sucks on is the images aren't as great as Google image search, but that's a small price to, it's bizarre. If you do 2 searches, like Google and then the Kagi search, the results are so vastly different because Google's entire first page is advertisements.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Google search is really just like an advanced Reddit search.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. Yes, despite what the administration has said for a good 3 months now, at least 4 months now, you shouldn't say thank you once because it's costing so much energy.
Have you even said thank you?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Oscars will now require members to see all nominated films before voting to determine Academy Award winners. Oh, good.
I mean, it is good.
Yes, I know.
It's kind of crazy that it took over 100 years for that to be
This is something
like
you would
an
have thought
official
was
rule.
mandatory.
And every year, increasingly, like voters will go anonymously talk to the press and be like, yeah, I mean, like it's impossible to watch all these. Yeah. So like, I was just like, Adrian Brody, he won for The Pianist, so I don't know, maybe not for this one again. So and so much of it, when they talk like that, it's very clear how like political the whole thing is, and it's not just about the movies.
Oh yeah, they've been working hard in the industry. And
yeah, but I mean, this is good. Apparently, they have a screener hub online for all the voting members. And so
they can do it by the time they've watched the runtime.
They can see if you've watched it. Of course, you can still you can submit a waiver saying like, oh, I saw it at this festival or whatever. But
well, that's like, it's not as bad now, but I remember years ago, like the one feature that would have helped YouTube so much is like not allowing comments until they've watched at least like a minute of the video.
Yeah.
Like 1 or 2 minutes would have completely changed things.
Or putting a timestamp automatically
on the comment. It actually does that on mobile now. If you watch on mobile, the comments will go on a rotation based on when they were left on the video.
Oh, I seen them rotate. I didn't know that was why.
Yeah, because I've seen comments that reference things that we're exactly talking about that pop up right when we talk about them.
Oh, weird.
I don't know if that's fully deployed or not, but that is something on mobile that I've noticed. So that is kind of good. But yes, back when YouTube's comment section was essentially 4chan, it would have helped a lot to have put some kind of...
Gay Station 3 is the worst console on in America. You gotta get the Sexbox One is the better console. I am Naruto.
Oh my God. Yeah, I miss when this was a gaming channel too, sir. And
now it's just porn bots with like literal pictures of vagina in the thumbnails, and I'm like, it's the same picture every time. And I'm like, how the fuck is YouTube not able to automatically block this shit from dropping on a video like within 5 seconds of it going up?
I go on my personal YouTube to watch the comments, and YouTube is burying those. Like the normal public, for the most part, doesn't see them because I'll go back and forth. And yes, when we're on the channel thing and you look at it, you kind of see everything.
Yeah.
But,
well, that's good.
Anyways, that's it for this week's episode. Again, I'm going out of town to
the woods.
To the woods to clear my head and just it's been a hell of a first couple of months here. But we'll be back early next week, and thank you for understanding. We really appreciate it. But if you want to help out a little bit more, you can click the like button.
Please.
Click the like button. Go back and watch the video again and leave a comment at a certain part of the video and see if it pops up.
Let's test this.
Test it out. Make sure you're subscribed. And please, if you haven't already, we have 2 other videos to watch over here. If you're somehow hung up on the fact that something needs to be called Weekly Weird, well, boy, do we have a show for you. It's right over there.
Right over there.
Plus the Pope dying. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Eliminate all threats.
Hey everyone, it's your guy here, Anthony Fantano, the internet's busiest music nerd, and we're driving. Yeah, we're leaving Let's Argue City, and we're going to Let's Agree Town, a cozy little place along the coast where everyone agrees with each other. We're leaving that place in the dustbin of history. In fact, I've loaded that son of a V up with enough plastic explosives to blow up a really big place. Yeah, Yeah, we're done arguing. I want to hear your most agreeable takes, your coldest takes, the stuff that everyone likes to hear for positive vibes only in America. Thank you. So yeah, I went on social media and I asked for exactly that. Let's see the results. Kanye West lost the chance to revive his career. Yeah, this is a Let's Agree video, and I agree with that. Honestly, and I know it hasn't been that long since I've talked about Kanye on this channel, I feel like I have been, and this has been to a great improvement in my mental health. I feel like I've been less and less plugged into whatever sort of like positive or supportive or gaslighty type discourse there is happening around Kanye West right now. I do think partially it is because there is less and less of it happening currently. A lot of people saw that Cousins tweet. That was just a bridge too far. I feel like you have to have some serious problems if like anything over the past year wasn't what did it for you. Like if it took the tweets about his cousin or the other various tweets about him being a cuck and making cuck music, like if that's what did it for you, there's something weird going on with you. You have problems, or maybe you're not experienced enough in the world. I have no idea. You should talk to a therapist about whether or not you were raised right or whether or not you were susceptible to things like cults. I actually watched some of these Kanye West fans who've been riding with him hard for the past like 6 or 7 months. If they do actually fall out of grace with Kanye, there is a high likelihood that they end up joining a cult that is somewhere shortly after. The Kanye West to Scientology pipeline will be real. Look out for it. But yeah, after this most recent string of tweets, I don't know if there's anybody out there who is still really, truly supporting Kanye West. And I feel like, as I've been saying in the multiple pieces of content I've been making about his downfall as of late, clicking like, this is kind of the cycle that Kanye is always in. He is embedded into a certain culture or community of people, and because he is a contrarian by nature, he just has to adhere to the thoughts and feelings and statements that will piss off the people around him the most. And now that he is fully like jettisoned anything and everything that was once connected to early years Kanye or middle years Kanye and so on and so forth, he's now sort of like in this weird right-wing sphere, and now he has to once again find a way to make those people he is now surrounded by and beloved by hate him. And the fastest way to do that is to say he's a cuck and say he's into cuck stuff and tweet this other shit too. It's just this constant never-ending boom and bust cycle of all the people who love me, find a way to make them hate me while also ingratiating myself to another group of people, transition into that group, and then once I've done that, I need to find a way to get them to hate me too, and then move on from there. And we're just going to do that over and over and over and over, and getting worse each time mentally and emotionally as we do it, to the point where I think Kanye is just going to have nobody around him whatsoever, and it's just really sad to sort of like see it going down that way. Putting your friends on to new music and then finding out later that they got really into it and started listening to more music on their own that you turned them on to is one of the best parts of being a music fan. That, my friend, is called connection and music culture. As great as the internet has been as a tool for that very thing, through message boards and through eras of social media that were less divisive and actually fostered community around particular things in an organic fashion, it has more recently shifted into a place that is just algorithmically homogenized, needlessly confrontational around the dumbest things. And then in addition to that, the amount of music you're being exposed to that's actually made by real fucking humans on some of these music streaming platforms like Spotify, for example, is just becoming less and less and less and less. Just more AI slop bullshit than ever in these places. Like, the beauty of being able to come together and celebrate and enjoy art collectively as a community, that's culture. And I'm not saying right now that the internet is inherently bad for that, but the people who run the internet are bad for that. And things need to happen for that not to be so bad anymore. You know, changes and all that. Agreeable things, because this is an agree video. Chance the Rapper is definitely a rapper who took a chance. You know, I'm gonna disagree on this one. I'm disagreeing. I'm arguing, in fact, because Chance the Rapper right now is ultimately refusing to take the biggest chance, and that is come out with a goddamn album, come out with a mixtape, come out with something other than a bunch of random ass singles. Come out with a thing. What are you doing? Your career opportunities are just evaporating before your very eyes. There's no possible way you could drop an album that is worse than The Big Day. It can only go up from here. Drop a thing. NPR Tiny Desk concerts are great. I mean, yes, I agree. The performances are good and cool and neat and interesting and shed a different light on artists that you don't usually see in a certain context, be it a Megan Thee Stallion or a T-Pain, so on and so forth. But I cannot sit through one of these things because they refuse to specify whether or not it is a tiny concert at a desk or it is a concert at a desk that is tiny. And I refuse to donate to NPR ever again until they tell me what it is. When I was young, I thought Tyler, the Creator, were separated artists and Tyler was featuring the Creator in every song. You're telling me that's not the case? Hold on a second. I thought Tyler was the rapper and the Creator was the guy making all the beats. You're telling me they're not like a duo? You're joking here. Here's Tyler. Okay, this is Tyler. This is clearly Tyler. Here's the Creator. Okay, here's the Creator. Here's Tyler. Here's the Creator. Here's Tyler. Here's the Creator. Clearly two different guys doing two different things, making music together as one of the greatest duos hip-hop has ever known, right up there with Gang Starr, right up there with Outkast, best hip-hop duo ever of the modern era, just like, you know, my other favorite hip-hop duo, Kendrick and Lamar. Kendrick is the one doing all the raps, Lamar is the one doing all the beats. Don't come in my comments if you're not going to know your hip-hop. Like me, I know my hip-hop. Misheard song lyrics can actually be a funny, unintentional addition to any song. Yeah, one of my favorite instances of that lately is that one guy that got like a Young Thug lyric tattooed on him, but it was with like horses, they don't stop, they keep going. But I guess the original lyric is like hustlers don't stop, they keep going, which is such a bewildering situation to me. One, why is that a lyric that sticks out to you out of all the Young Thug lyrics? Like he has so many other similar lyrics out there, and I guess lyrics that I guess you could say are like maybe funnier or wittier or maybe speak more accurately to the personal experience of that seemingly white guy who got that weird ass tattoo. So yeah, why that lyric is the one, I don't really know. I feel like hustlers makes more sense because they hustle, but also, I mean, it is kind of true. Horses don't stop, they keep going. Horses just go and go and go and go. That's why people like to ride them. So I mean, I don't know, while it is a weird mistake, at least from what I understand, I'm just merely reporting a random video and headline that I saw on the internet, and we all know that all videos and headlines we see online in 2025 are true. There is no denying that. That is not a thing that you can deny. All videos are in fact true and real, and media literacy is at an all-time high in the current age. But yeah, I think as of late, that is one of my favorite misheard song lyrics. No music is truly worthless. If a song is enjoyed by even one person, it has value. The only exception is music with an inherently harmful message, like Tom McDonald, for example. The Big Day may be god-awful, embarrassing, so on and so forth, but I can be happy it exists knowing that there's someone out there who thinks it's the best piece of music ever made. I'll do you one even better and say that music has value based even on just the artists themselves enjoying the process of making it and getting something out of doing that. A song, in my opinion, doesn't even necessarily need to have like a big or any audience whatsoever consuming it and enjoying it for it to have some kind of value, which again I think is the case for lots of different artistic disciplines. If even the artists themselves get something significant personally out of making that art, as long as I guess, you know, it didn't involve sort of like killing a bunch of people and sort of like, you know, painting a canvas in their blood, which I know sounds freakish and outlandish, but there are legitimately debates and philosophical bits of discourse that have happened over the course of art history about whether or not art is valid that involves harm being done onto others, sentient beings, so on and so forth. In fact, there was this really sick art piece in the late 2000s that involved starving a dog. So I mean, this stuff is out there. It does exist, but again, so long as the art process isn't doing any kind of like harm to somebody else and it's just kind of the artist making some art and getting something out of that process, it has value even based on that. Buying albums in a physical format is a joy that I hope never stops being a possibility. I hope so too. I feel like that is becoming less and less of a possibility though into the future as we sort of like barrel further and further into a digital streaming information age where you essentially will own nothing and be happy about it. Another downside to this is that your favorite artists and albums and songs can like have their stuff ripped off of these platforms or changed in some significant way, and there's pretty much nothing you can do about it. That is, unless you have your own copy of that thing that you can always like refer back to no matter what. Because I don't know, after all, what if there's one person out there who like really personally enjoys that first original like shittily mixed version of The Life of Pablo the best with like the OG track list release? What if there's a person out there who just prefers it that way? There's got to be at least one. Yeah, hopefully that person has a personal copy of that they can listen to at their pleasure, because as more of our media and culture is essentially owned by a smaller and smaller number of multi-million, billion-dollar companies, how much of that media and art and culture we will continue to have access to for free or for an affordable price, it's becoming kind of questionable. Maybe piracy will become a thing again. I don't know. We'll see. You are the internet's busiest music nerd. Yeah, I am. Hell yeah. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I don't even disagree with that. Nardwar seems like he's a really nice guy. Well, I've met him, and he interviewed me one time. I cannot watch that interview. I hate the way that I look and act in that interview so much. And chances are, if I did another interview, I would still like hate the way that I look and act in that interview, even though it would be nice to do another Nardwar interview where I don't look and act like a fucking idiot the entire time. Anyway, yes, I've met him, and he is quite nice. Quite a nice guy in person, and I do agree that he is a nice man. Interactions with people off the internet tend to be much more fulfilling than talking to people online. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like that kind of depends upon the person and where you're kind of talking and interacting. There are lots of cool people who I know through the internet, and I love my interactions with those people, and those people are, you know, important to me and have given me vital perspective on a lot of different things. If I had the opportunity to just sort of like casually hang out in person with some of these individuals, as you know, a few that I have in mind don't even live anywhere near me, I would. You know, a long distance online connection is fine too. Nothing wrong with that. You should try to find balance in your life in terms of surrounding yourself with positive people who you interact with well, and just make sure that those people are online and offline too, as having people in person to hang out with is vital, and having people in your life, as it were, who are maybe sort of outside the normal orbit of individuals who you regularly have contact with can be good as well, because that sort of outside and out of context perspective can most definitely help in some situations. But yeah, you know, just don't give any strangers your social security number or your address, and you should be fine. My parents' influence on my musical taste helped shape me into who I am today. I am thankful for them and the memories I get while listening to some of their favorite tunes. Aww, that's so adorable. I fully and wholeheartedly agree. I had some similar experiences, though maybe not in the same exact way as maybe some people might kind of envision such a relationship to be with their parents and their music. Oh, this is the music of my generation. Here's what you should listen to. Try this out, so on and so forth. I just have a lot of vivid memories of being a fan at the same time as my mom was of a lot of contemporary music, like back in the 90s, be it certain singer-songwriters who were popular at the time, or certain rock or pop artists and hip-hop artists too. It was like really cool to be into some of the same songs and artists that you know, my mom was at the time. She's got some pretty current day hip tastes with some stuff, you know. Indie music is often not independently produced, but instead made by mainstream record labels. This can be confusing for many people. Yeah, I mean, this is just kind of the product, unfortunately, of the indie boom of the 2000s, where indie music, as you're kind of describing there in terms of like its makeup and where it's produced and who it's produced by, was strictly that for a time. And then as some of the newer bands that kind of were gaining momentum in the late 90s and 2000s started to build up some steam, labels kind of saw potential in indie music as like a new thing to sell records with and brand around and so on and so forth. And you know, that's when you saw bands like Death Cab for Cutie getting signed to big labels and other artists doing bigger label deals and so on and so forth. And after that, sort of like the conceptual meaning of the indie label began to become more and more meaningless and you know, kind of degrading to the point where it is today. And I wouldn't say it's completely degraded. I feel like indie as a label is kind of more descriptive of a sound than it is a literal ethos when it comes to releasing your music. That's not necessarily the worst thing it could have turned into. I mean, in some respects, I think indie would be an even less functional label if sonically it meant ultimately nothing other than just sort of like, oh yeah, we released this independently. Well, it's like, why do we have a genre label just for like, I'm releasing my music independently? You know, it's like you could release any kind of music independently. It doesn't need to be, you know, within a certain rubric or sound or whatever. Having a diverse taste in music doesn't inherently mean you have better taste in music. I mean, it can certainly help. I feel like having good taste in music means having at least somewhat of a broad taste in music so that you have more perspective about whether or not something you're listening to in a certain genre is actually good. There's some people who I know who just kind of mostly listen to one single genre or maybe a couple of different genres. And as a result, I feel like they're more easily impressed by releases within those spaces that are just kind of okay when there's not really an opportunity to supplement those listening experiences with maybe superior records or more interesting records that are outside of these genre spaces that they're normally sort of comfortable in. But still, with that being said, you could be fans of artists in 8 or 9 or 10 wildly different genres, and maybe all of those artists be the most boring, surface level, mainstream portrayals, bland commercial portrayals of that sound, and you're just merely aware of them or a fan of them because you don't really do that much digging into music generally outside of like what kind of just happens to cross by you when you're looking at random playlists on Spotify, which when it comes to taste is like a lot of breadth but not necessarily a lot of depth. And I feel like having a decent music taste is some depth is kind of required. I think listening to a wide array of different artists and genres can certainly help when it comes to improving your music taste. And when I say that, I mean like your capacity to, I guess, kind of grasp and familiarize yourself and understand different types of grooves and instrumental palettes and musical styles and so on and so forth. It can help with that, but it's not like, you know, the silver bullet guarantee that you're gonna have amazing music taste because you listen to more genres than the average person. All right, guys, I'm done agreeing with you for the most part. Thank you for watching. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the
Logan Soy, can we please get a shofar for Kneecap, who have managed to piss off the right-wingers and Zionists, while also getting out their fuck Israel and pro-free Palestine, anti-genocide message at Coachella. Up the boys. I'm about to...
They made a new fan.
Hey, here we go. Shofar to Kneecap.
I hadn't seen the movie, and now I really want to see it.
I don't know. There's a movie?
Is it not the Kneecap movie?
Yes, there's a movie, and it won a bunch of awards, actually. I think at Sundance.
Related to the band?
Yeah, it's sort of like a docu-fiction they made about themselves or with a filmmaker. Sort of they participated in it, fictionalized.
Oh, now I want to see it.
I've heard really good things about it. This is not like that the monkey one that came out
about Robbie Williams.
Yeah, who I still don't know who that is.
Hey, I know who he was less after that movie.
Yeah.
Right, and they were like, he's notoriously not big in the United States, and the executives were wondering why it bombed. It's like because of the first sentence, because everything the stuff that everybody knows about Robbie Williams. But anyway,
wait, go back to the Kneecap thing for 1 second.
Yeah,
did you see the insane Sharon Osbourne rant online about it?
No.
Like Sharon Osbourne, she said, why did these bands? First of all, she's advocating for their work visa to be revoked over this, and she's also criticized Green Day. And she's wondering, why do these bands feel like they should be political? It's not about music. It's not about politics at a festival. She's trying to make a distinction between if it's your own show, you can be as political as you want, but at a festival, You cannot be political. No politics at a festival.
Think about the corporate sponsors at the festival. Think about
I saw
that.
Kalani got disinvited from Cornell.
Yeah.
This stuff all seems so like irrationally post hoc justifications because a lot of people just don't understand why they support Israel. They don't understand, or at least they're not able to articulate why they support it so strongly because they've just been indoctrinated since they were very young, either because they're Christian evangelicals, which I know Sharon Osbourne isn't, or they just grew up in that generation where they were told to uncritically support Israel by whatever powers that be in their country who were taking money from AIPAC or the Israel lobby or the military-industrial complex lobby, and so they can't explain in any real coherent way why they're against like this kind of stuff.
But maybe she's just reflexively anti-Irish as a Brit herself. So Kneecap is an Irish band. Now this story has made its way to the couches of Fox and Friends. Here they are, very old men yelling at clouds, or at least
The clutching pearl section.
Yes, clutching their pearls so the old men watching on their couches can yell at clouds about Israel or about pro-Palestine demonstration.
Thing is, look, if Green Day, if Kneecap, which is a band I've never even heard of, if they want to be for the Palestinian people, then they shouldn't be anti-Israel, they should be anti-Hamas. And to see on stage a large billboard that says F Israel.
Unreal.
It's unreal. No, this didn't happen in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. This was in 2025 in America. Beyond staggering.
Well, and that's what I wanted to ask you was, how do we combat this with young people? I feel like we can see how it got here, which is the absolute. How do we combat it now?
I would have loved to have her finish that thought. We see how it got here. The absolute what?
So that's tied for 5th place right there on the right, is it not?
Right. Apparently, she's a music expert.